This is Dan and Lexi from Dan Schultz Outdoors, reminding you, keep the adventures alive.
Hey y'all, I'm Johnny.
And I'm Colleen. And we're the Keel Quest. And we want you to keep the adventures alive. Cheers!
Hey, this is Darren from My Paddle Repeat, encouraging you to keep the adventures alive.
This is David from Beachley Ironworks saying keep the adventures alive.
Hey, Kevin with an A here. Keep the adventure alive.
Hi, I'm Dan Mayon. Keep the adventures alive.
Hi, I'm Kevin Cowan, the Happy Camper. Remember, keep the adventures alive. Awesome!
Woo, buddy! Shug here! Keep the adventures alive. I am.
Ethan here, the Avid Outdoorsy guy, reminding you to keep the adventures alive.
We're John and Aaron.
Keep the adventures alive.
Hey everyone, it's Kylan from Lure of the North, and I encourage you to keep the adventures alive.
This is Sky North telling you, keep the adventures alive. And now on with the show.
Hey, well, happy Tuesday evening, everybody. This is Dennis and Canoe Hounds Outdoor Adventure Show, welcoming you to another episode of Canoe Hounds Outdoor Adventure Show, a show that will bring you a lot closer to the great outdoors by interviewing great personalities and bringing up the topics that you enjoy and watch here on YouTube. This is your first time to the show. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I just want to let you know that we are here live every Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you've got nothing better to do, put it on your calendar and make it a regular day to pop into the show. We have all kinds of great topics going on and a lot of great things coming up in the near future. Just want to get over a few news and announcements like I do every week while our chat populates over there. And then we will get on to tonight's topic and tonight's guests. First, just want to let you know a little bit of a news update on the Paddle in the Park contest. Things are starting to roll with that. If it's something that you are looking forward to, it's a great time, a great opportunity for you to get yourself outdoors and maybe find yourself a paddle and do all kinds of great canoeing or backpacking and things of that sort. With that being said, keep your eye on the Paddle in the Park social media sites, Instagram, Facebook, and their YouTube channel. Get over and get yourself subscribed to their YouTube channel. The link is in the description below. Reason being is because things are starting to roll out now, and you'll be getting all the updates as to when the contest is going to start, who the sponsors are, who the paddle suppliers are going to be, and things like that. So everything is starting to roll. I know all this because I'm on the board of directors and I'm helping to plan this year's Paddle in the Park contest. So if you're interested in that, please do get yourself tuned in with liking on Facebook and things like that. So once again, the YouTube link is in the description below, so check that out. Just wanted to go over last week's show. Last week, we were joined by product designer, marketer, and all-around axe junkie, Craig Roost, also known as Rooster. We talked a lot about council tools, but the main focus of the show last week was on axe safety. We covered a lot of bases. We actually had a lot of tips that were shared and a lot of advice was given. And we've had overwhelming response from the show there. We heard from a lot of you that you really enjoyed the show. And I think we had a record amount of swag giveaway entries for people entering the swag giveaway. And that was a good thing. And I will just let you know that last week's winner of the swag giveaway was Kevin Ellis. That's Kevin with an A for many of you that might follow him on Facebook or on YouTube, sorry. But he won a Canoe Hound Adventures prize pack along with some swag from Algonquin Outfitters and also some great swag from Council Tools, including one of their Flying Fox axes. So, Kevin, I believe everything's going to be in the mail. I was talking with Rooster, and the package is on its way. So that's awesome stuff there. Let's see here. Just got a few more things. I'd like to welcome our newest channel members. I see Jay's Way has just signed up, according to the chat here. Thanks for becoming a channel member, Jay's Way. I also like to welcome Killdeer Survival, Joe Burley, Richard Heffernan, and also a shout out to our solo paddle members, Sty North, Kevin with an A. There we go. Good things come around and go around, right? And Smoking Our Barbecue and Jeremy Walla. Thanks very much for your support, everybody. It goes a long way to keeping this this live stream going with all the costs that we have to offset, right? If you are interested in becoming a channel member, all you need to do is click the link just below. You'll see, if you're in YouTube, you'll see a join button below. And on there is all the information that you would need. But even better than that, we have for all channel members, new and upcoming, or current and upcoming, we are doing a channel member giveaway. We have a prize package valued at over $450. That's going to go to one of our lucky channel members. It includes, and you'll see this here on the screen, an Ursac Major Bear Proof bag, kid products twig stove, including fire striker, a blow tube, and a cutlery set. Some coffee from our good friends at the Backcountry Coffee Company. Some beard products from the Short Hills Beard Company. They're the ones that keep this scraggly beard of mine looking pretty good, even though it's a shorty. One-day equipment rental from Algonquin Outfitters, a duffel bag and water bottle, some great signs and graphics, a Billy Bellow blow tube, some Canoe Hounds Adventures swag, and all kinds of neat stuff. And I don't think we're done there yet anyways, right? We got more stuff, and I'm talking to a few more people, so we might be able to get the value of this up to about $500. And as I mentioned, it's open to anybody in Canada and the U.S., and all you need to do is become a member by hitting that join button down there and selecting one of 3 different membership levels. Just depending on the membership level that you join at. If you join at a day tripper level, you'll get 1 ballot. Weekend tripper gets you 3. And for a bonus, if you go at the solo membership or solo paddler membership, we'll give you 7 entries into the draw. So feel free to get yourself signed up and enjoy the perks that come along with being a channel member. Also, thank you to all my I guess you would call them sponsor affiliates there that for supplying such great products and gifts for the giveaway. You guys, your support is greatly appreciated. We still do have our iron-on patches and our decal packs available. $10 for some decals and a couple of iron-on patches. If it's something that you're looking for, just drop me an email at canoehound@gmail.com. And I would be more than happy to get everything taken care of for you there and get these things out in the mail to you. And let's see here. Really big announcement. Next week's show. I have to announce this. I'm going to mention it probably a couple of times through tonight's broadcast. That next week, there's been an awful big buzz going around right now about the Ontario parks and their fee structure that they have as a pilot program right now in the Temagami Region Provincial Parks and the Massasauga Park. And it's something that could potentially roll out to province-wide. You never know. We're having a very big discussion on that next week. We're going to have a few great guests on. I will get that on my Facebook page so that you know exactly who's going to be in tune. But let's just say we have some very knowledgeable people as to what's going on, and what we'll find out what we can do to try and prevent this from happening. You know, we have to band together. So mark that on your calendars. Next Tuesday, sorry, at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it's going to be a full 2-hour show. So get yourselves a couple bevies and settle in, and we'll get that show rocking. Spread the word too. Spread the word. Let people know about this. Once again, if you have any hot topics or guests that you'd like to see on the show, drop me an email right here, canoehound@gmail.com. Let me know who you'd like to see on the show or a topic you'd like us to discuss, and we will do our best to make that happen. And last but not least, tonight, if you have any questions for myself or our guests, please do put in capital letters the word question, and put your question behind it, and we'll see if we can get that on screen so that we can get that answered for you. With that being said, let's get right into the topic of the evening. Tonight, we're joined by a couple of individuals who share a passion for the outdoors and who have had many miles under their belts as avid hikers and backpackers. They have a popular podcast and live stream show on Monday evenings that focuses on the backcountry backpacking and hiking, called the Backpacking Podcast. Please welcome to the live stream Jeremiah Stringer and John Kelly. How you doing, fellas?
Great, man. Doing fantastic.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to warn you guys now. Of late, I've been having some rather difficult times with our internet here. So if I happen to go astray, disappear off screen, just keep the conversation going, man. I know you guys can talk because I've heard you on your show. All good? My goodness, I'm already frozen up, right?
Oh no! I think
there we go. Am I on now?
Yeah, hello.
There we are. I was gonna say I'm never.
Right,
we're totally scripted, man. Like we don't know how to like ad lib at all. So that'd be really hard for us.
You don't.
Yeah, we have a good time. We do the Backpacking Podcast for those that haven't heard of it, and we pretty much just hang out and chill on Monday nights, like you said. So it's all just complete ad lib, complete just off the top of your head, no script. Just jump in and have fun.
We're not nearly as organized as you are, Dennis.
Yeah, you know what? Sorry. Yeah, I apologize, people. I'm just working on my connection here right now. This is sometimes gets to be a real crap show when the internet decides to do this kind of things that it wants to do when it wants to do it. Have you got me now?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, we got you great.
Man.
John, can you hear me?
Okay,
yeah,
I got you.
Oh yeah, you're great.
Oh my gosh, I am so sorry.
No, you've been good the whole time. We could hear you the whole time.
Really?
Yeah.
You're fantastic, man.
You're awesome. You're a pro, man. You got this.
I don't know, because everything froze up on this side. Everything was, I don't know. You know what? The internet, I don't know if it's all this COVID stuff going on or not, but if I did break out on your end or to everybody in the chat there, I apologize. I think I got the connection going here now. Let's have some fun.
Sounds good.
Let's start with Jeremiah. Jeremiah, tell us a little bit about yourself. What got you into this whole hiking thing?
Well, it's actually my father-in-law. I was like working, just doing my normal job. And then I have summers off since I'm a teacher. And he was like, do you want to go on a backpacking trip? And I was like, I don't know what that is. He told me a little bit about it. And I was like, yeah, I'll give it a go. And then we did it, stayed out in the woods for like 4 days and fell in love with it. And then, like a year or so later, or maybe it wasn't even a year, maybe it's only like 6 months. I was like, I gotta let other people experience this. So I started a YouTube channel and then just started sharing my experiences and basically documenting what I learned as I learned it, making mistakes. And then I can make a video and say, hey, here's some beginner mistakes. Like I literally just made these over the weekend. Don't do this. And then that's the whole idea. Then now I just go backpacking all the time. Done some longer trails, a whole lot of shorter trails, and try to get out every chance I get.
That's cool. So how many years has this been that you've been kind of at it?
I think that my first trip was at the end of May in 2018.
So you're fairly fairly new at this. You're a newbie.
Yeah, only a few years in, but I try to get as much experience as possible. Right, it's really hard to teach people something that you don't know.
Yeah.
So I try to get out every chance I get, and like my longest was I did like a 40 or 50 miler in Tennessee, and then I was like, this is cool. So let's up the stakes a little bit, and we did the Foothills Trail, which is in North and South Carolina, and that was like 70 to 80 miles. And I was like, this is cool. Let's do a little longer. So did the Vermont Long Trail, which was like, it took about a month. So I was like, a month is quite a bit of time, in and out of the woods. So we'll see what the future holds, but new, but try to put as many miles under me as I can.
And with that, you're hooked, eh?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Die hard, just like John, man.
Yeah. So let's talk about John. John, tell us a bit about yourself there.
Yeah. My first, I guess, outdoors thing, I was actually, it was 2015. I'd gotten married the year before that, and I'd just come off a hernia surgery. And a buddy of mine called me up and said, hey, you want to go on an adventure? And I need to preface this with the fact that this guy, he had just gotten done running 100 marathons in 100 days from Los Angeles to New York City. Okay.
Yeah.
He swam across Lake Michigan. He's hiked the Appalachian Trail. He's biked the, I can't remember, is it the Transcontinental Route, the one that goes from Oregon to Virginia? Okay. He's biked that. Like I said, he's walked the crossing. He's done all this crazy stuff basically. And he asked me if I wanted to go on an adventure with him. And I was just like, no, I don't.
Anyways.
He goes, well, let me tell you what I want to do. And I'm like, okay, you can tell me, but I'm not promising you anything. And he goes, let's climb Mount Kilimanjaro. And yeah, what you just did is what I was doing. And I looked at him and I said, Darren, fat guys don't climb mountains. And he says, he looks me back in the eye and he goes, well, then don't be fat anymore and come climb a mountain with me. And so I did. I ended up losing about 75 pounds. And wow. And he and I and 15 other people, we summited Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania, Africa. That was in 2016. And we raised about $115,000 to build wells in Africa through that effort.
Congrats.
And that kind of started it all. Like all the hiking leading up to that just got me to fall in love with hiking. And so that really got me into hiking big time. And then camping out on Kilimanjaro and all that really got me interested in what backpacking was all about. And so I started exploring that more and met up with a buddy of mine in 2017. And I'd gotten more into the idea of into the backpacking part of things. And I asked him, I said, you want to do the Sheltowee Trace? It's about at the time, it was 323 miles here in Kentucky. And he said, yeah, let's do it. So we planned that and we started our hike in 2018 and we hiked the Sheltowee Trace. So,
wow. And it's turned into a lifestyle change for you, obviously, as well, right?
Massive. Yeah. I'm not nearly as good looking as Jeremiah, but I'm working on it. So, but Jeremiah, did you mention the fact that you've lost 100 pounds? Like that's something that's kind of important about you.
Well, it's for those that have lost weight, it's like a lifelong, I wouldn't say battle, but you do have like the battles, like you'll gain a little, lose a little, you'll lose motivation, you'll gain discipline. So yeah, right before I went on that backpacking trip, like 18 months before, I gotten hurt playing in a basketball game at work. We have this like student versus faculty basketball game, and my knee, it was like just gave out on me. Like I could hardly walk. Oh. And then my boss at work was like, you need to go get this checked out. And I was like, well, let's see what happens. And then a couple of days went by and I was like, it's not getting any better. I guess I'll go. I mean, work is going to pay for me to go since it was hurt while I was playing, for the faculty team in the basketball game. And then thank God my doctor was like, you may be young. You're like 22, 23 years old, but you're fat. And if you want to keep doing the things that you did in college and like play sports like you did in high school, then you need to lose weight and you need to start doing stuff. Because I was just like chilling at the house, playing some Call of Duty, eating pizza every day. I'd just get off work and hang out. Mm-hmm. And then your body just starts breaking down. So I needed that slap in the face, Thank God that doctor was like man enough to say, hey, this is what you need, not, hey, let me prescribe you some painkillers, take care of that knee, give it some rest. He said, you need to do like 6 months of physical therapy. You need to cut like 50 to 100 pounds and you need to be active. And I was like, okay, I'll do that. So I took like 18 months ish, year to 2 years, somewhere in there. And just every morning I get up and I go to the gym like 5:30, 6 a.m. before work. And, my breakfast is like a protein shake. I started building muscle and done my physical therapy and just started getting ripped. Then,
okay, you know what? John just gave you away on that one.
Oh, he's Arnold Schwarzenegger, man. He's a beast,
bro. No, I full on. I had to send you some pictures, man. I'll prove to you. To you. So I started doing YouTube, and then because I was in the best shape of my life, and then I discovered backpacking. And to me, it was just like a continuing way to stay active, right? I actually started buying my own gear instead of borrowing people's. I started going on my own trips that other people hadn't planned. And then I was like, I got to share this with people. And you don't have time to do everything. You got church, you got a spouse, you got work, you got YouTube, you got the podcast, you have your friends. You have to pick something to drop. So I stopped going and working out for an hour every morning and substituted that hour with doing YouTube videos. Then COVID happened and I gained a little more weight. So now I'm still on the road to get that 6-pack back because Backpacking with Jason says I can't do it. And I'm coming for you, Backpacking with Jason.
They've got a bet going on right now, actually.
Is that right?
It's pretty funny. You get the two of them together and Jason just gives him the funniest looks and laughs at him when he says he's going to get a 6-pack. So yeah, it's for real.
No, Jason's a Canadian hiker, is he not?
He's Kentucky too.
Oh, is he Kentucky? Okay.
Yeah. He's another Kentucky boy.
Okay. I mentioned to Jeremiah in the green room that this guy, as you could probably tell by the name of my channel and the show and everything, and my nickname, I'm more of a backcountry paddler, right? And I've never actually done an overnight backpacking or hiking trip. I actually have one planned with a couple of people that are in the chat over there for April, and it's either going to be a canoe trip if ice is out, or it's going to be a backpacking trip if ice is not out, right? So we've got that going up in the air. And but I've done my fair share of hiking. We're close to, and I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the Bruce Trail. It's a
I've heard of it.
It's like I think almost a 700-kilometer long hiking trail that runs from in Ontario, southern Ontario, up through the Bruce Peninsula. It runs along the Niagara Escarpment. Might be here or that or this or that for you guys, but it's a pretty popular trail. I've hiked parts of that, but never the overnight stuff, right? And I've always had a hankering to do it, and that's why I follow a lot of hikers and come across you guys. And you guys have this fantastic channel and a fantastic podcast, and I think we should talk a bit about that because anybody that's in the chat here tonight, I could see there's a few names that I recognize from your live streams. And then we have a lot of crossover followers. I'm quite sure Keel Quest is one most notably here that I could see in the chat right now. But I want to get to know, and I want everybody to get to know a little bit more, obviously, about your show. But both of you, congratulations first on losing so much weight. Like that's awesome. You got to feel so good about yourselves for that, right?
Yeah, I'll feel good when I lose quite a bit more. We had kids, and then I slipped. Yeah. I had about a year and a half where I didn't do a very good job, and I've lost 50 of it, and I want to go past where I was before. So I want to go past the 75 I lost before. I want to lose another 50 past that. So I want to totally lose about 130 pounds. Wow. So I've still got a ways to go, but I got a big target to hit.
Keep the feet moving, and it'll probably happen. You know what? That's actually motivation for me. I could probably stand to lose about 25 to 30 pounds myself to get to where I'd be comfortable and probably make my portages a lot easier. Before we get into your show here, one quick question that one of my viewers has, and he wants to know if you guys have ever had any any experience canoe camping?
I've been canoeing multiple times. I've never actually done any canoe camping, like portaging. Is that what you mean? Like that kind of thing?
Yeah.
No, I've never actually done that. Have you done it, Jeremiah?
I had a disaster trip last year.
Oh, love to hear about it.
Start like that.
You want to hear about it?
Sure.
Okay. So I have this buddy named Dan, and he's in our life group through church. And he was like, "Hey, man, I know these other guys, and you know a couple of them. Would you be interested in doing a canoe/kayaking camp trip?" It's like, the weather's going to be beautiful, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, I guess. I mean, that sounds like fun to me. I already do a lot of camping. I have all the gear. And he was like, okay, well, here's what we're going to do. So where I live in Kentucky, there's this massive lake called Lake Cumberland. And it's huge, dude. So he picked the spot for us to put in kayaks and canoes at the lake, just at a boat ramp, and canoe and kayak to an island and set up for the night. Have a fire, chill, bring all of our food, big cooler, all that. Well, I didn't have a kayak. I had a canoe, and everybody else but me and one other guy, they all had kayaks. So me and this other guy named Trevor, we take the canoe. It was a lot of paddling. He said, dude, it'll take like 10 minutes to get there. And I was like, okay, well, how far is it? He's like, I don't know. It's not very far. I mean, it took forever to get there. So we set up, had a great night, done some fishing, whatnot. Got up the next day, and the water is just an open lake. No windbreaks, nothing. So the waves were not very big, but it was like super choppy. And still an okay day. Dude, the kayaks, no issues at all. They're just running through there. Well, the canoe had like everything, dude. It had like my backpack, all the gear that I take backpacking for the camping. It's strapped in there. Had all the fishing poles, the fishing gear, like tackle bags, a giant cooler that was like the width of the canoe. We put it in there, and it like started to tip over right as we put it in the water. And then the waves were coming from the side and just splashing over. So we had to stop, bail out all the water, and then we put all of our stuff back in there. And then we made it. we started going. It's super windy, and all the kayaks were just like whoosh, gone. So it was just me, Trevor, and Dan at this point. And the other 3 or 4 guys in kayaks were just headed straight back. No big deal. You know, it's a kayak, very maneuverable. So we got to the point where we couldn't turn. We had to keep straight into the waves, or we were going to get broadsided, and then our canoe was going to turn over, and I was going to lose all my gear, and I was going to lose the cooler and everything that I brought. My fishing poles, like we're talking about several $1,000s worth of stuff. And plus, it wasn't my canoe. It was my father-in-law's. So I didn't want to sink the canoe anyway. So poor Dan, he come back to help us. And he's doing everything he can to keep us afloat in his kayak. He's right next to us. And then I don't know what the deal was. I think that there was a crack in the bottom of his kayak, but it started taking on water, and his back end completely sank in. And so he's to the point where his butt's like sitting in water, and he has to paddle over. We flagged down this pontoon of just tourists. You know, all the Ohio people come down to this lake in the summertime, and we're like, hey, you know, this one boat coming through, and they stop and they're like, are you guys okay? And we're like, no, we're not okay. They're like, well, how can we help? And we're like, can you please like throw us a line? And if you can pull us to this channel, there's no wind in the channel. And then we can just hug the bank until we get back to the boat ramp. And I don't know how far it was. It was less than a mile, but just flat, you know, non-moving water. That was pretty hard to paddle all that stuff. So Dan pulls over, and he has to bail out all the water, ruins his phone, ruins his truck key. We're taking multiple vehicles to fit all the, the boats. So we finally make it back. His kayak doesn't sink all the way. And he makes it back. And then I'm like, okay, let's load everything up. Well, he parked at the top of the hill, so I drove him up there. And this is like, I don't know, half a mile to a mile to his truck. We got up there, he got in, and he has a newer F-150. So he stuck the key in, and where it'd been in water, it shot the key. So it literally, it was like anti-theft.
Yeah.
So put a computer chip in there. So he stuck it in there.
Man.
It didn't come on. And I was like, what's the deal, man? Is your battery dead? He's like, I think it's the key. It's got the theft blinking light. And I was like, well, take it apart and dry it out. So we sat there for like an hour. All the other guys are down at the boat ramp. Like, where are these guys? And, you know, they have their kayaks and stuff. We've only loaded the canoe. So he had a trailer for his boat. So I'm like, just unhitch the trailer. We'll put it on my truck, and then we'll take it down there, and then we will we'll get everything and bring it back up here and maybe call for a ride or something. Unhitched the trailer, and I had the wrong size ball on my truck.
Oh, one thing after another, right?
Yeah, we didn't have a big enough like set of wrenches, like vice grips or anything that we could undo the ball on the truck. So we had to rehitch the trailer and just call his wife, who was like an hour to an hour and a half away, to bring an extra key for the truck. And that key still doesn't work, but we made it home that day.
Yeah.
It was a disaster, bro. I thought I was going to die.
This is why I love doing a podcast with Jeremiah, because literally I just do this so I can hear his stories. I don't really have much to offer. I just kind of sit around and listen to him all day and laugh.
I heard you mention that, I think, on last night's show there. That you go, it's the first time I ever heard this story.
It happens all. Jeremiah, for a guy who's only in his 20s, has more stories. It's unbelievable.
Oh,
and he's only, in 3 years of backpacking, he's got more stories than guys I know who've been backpacking for 30. So it's unbelievable.
Wow. So I have to ask Jeremiah, and this I'm going to click up a comment here from Wilderman Northern Adventures. It says, we all had disaster trips. They're the best to recall, right? So will you ever go on a canoe trip again?
I don't know about the canoe. I'm willing to do the kayak. The canoe, it seems like.
I'm guessing you might have had a little too much. As soon as you mentioned cooler, I'm guessing maybe you had a little too much gear in there or something, right?
It was weighed. I mean, I don't know how much was sticking above the water, but it couldn't have been much. Wow. It was definitely weighted down with 2 grown men in there and all the gear.
Oh, that's funny. Jeez. Well, at least you made it through alive. You should have been on about 3 weeks ago or so. I had a show on backcountry mishaps. Right, and that would have been a great story for that show.
Oh man,
you didn't see the casting call. Okay, so let's get on. You guys run a really cool podcast. Obviously, it's on what podcast sources can you find it? Is it like iHeartRadio?
Pretty much all of them.
Yeah,
you can put it's pretty much all of them. I don't think we're on iHeart, but we are on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We're on what are the other ones, Jeremiah? Anchor, Podbean. Yeah,
all the major platforms. I think we have like 8 to 10 that's published on there, but we also have the backpackingpodcast.com. So that just takes you to our website and you can listen to every episode. But I like to download all my podcasts on Spotify and listen to them there. But I can't figure out how to upload video there. I think Joe Rogan's the only one that can do it.
Yeah,
you can upload video on Spotify? I didn't know that.
Well,
he can. We can't.
Yeah, I think they got like a $50 million deal, and they actually made it where you could upload for him because he was like, viral moments are on video, not just audio. Like, okay, we'll do video. So I have searched the whole internet, the deep, dark depths.
Yeah,
it's not happening. But yeah, we have fun on the podcast. It's like this: just chill, hang out, tell stories, and have great guests.
Yeah, so
I laugh a lot.
Tell us about the podcast. Like, who come up with the brainchild of doing a podcast with the two of you as hosts?
Tell him, John.
Okay, so we went on a trip. It was Jeremiah, myself, and backpacking with Jason and my buddy Josh. And I think it's going to become his trail name, my buddy Josh, because I looked at every video that I have him in, and I don't call him Josh. I call him my buddy Josh. So I don't know. We'll see. But we're out on this trip. And we had gone down to, I want to say Yahoo Falls area in the Big South Fork. And we were down there hiking around. We stopped at this campsite for the night. And we're all sitting there talking, but it wasn't all of us sitting there talking. It was just me and Jeremiah talking, and the other guys just laughing at us the whole time. And so I paid attention to that. When I got home later, I started thinking, I'll bet Jeremiah and I could do a podcast. Because like when we start talking, people just laugh at us. So I was like, if we could be a podcast for backpacking where people just laugh at us the whole time, we could probably get some people to listen to us. And so I called Jeremiah and I said, hey man, so I got this idea. And he's like, uh-oh, what? And I said, what if you and I did a podcast? He goes, man, I don't want to do that. it's literally what he said. I don't want to do that. I go, what do you mean? He goes, I don't want to do any more work. I was like, dude, it's not going to be any work. It's going to be fun.
Sorry, I got to laugh at that one, but carry on.
so what was it? It was maybe like September, I think, maybe October. And I think in November we decided, you know what, let's try it and see what happens. So we did a bunch of research and we got set up with Anchor. We talked to other guys who do podcasts. Devin Ashby, who's outdoor, what is this called? The Outdoor Experience Podcast. Is that what it's called?
It's Backpacking Experience.
Backpacking Experience. That's right. Backpacking Experience Podcast. And talked to the guys from Backpacking and Blisters and just asked them about, how did you get started? What do you have to do? And so I just took all that, told Jeremiah about it. He said, okay. So we record, I think it was the week after Christmas, we got together and we recorded like 4 episodes or 3 episodes or something like that. And the plan was to just do one a month. And we were like, this is way too much fun. We got to do this like once a week. And so it was really just an audio podcast for the longest time. And then when COVID hit, we kind of were talking and it was like, what if we tried to do a live stream? And that's kind of when everything took off, was when we started doing the live stream on top of the audio podcast. And we've got to talk to some cool people. I mean, a lot of cool people.
Is that kind of like one of the best parts of doing this too? I find it is for me, because I get to meet some really interesting people. We make some great friendships with the people that you speak with, and yeah.
Yeah. At no point did I ever think I'd get a chance to sit down and talk to Andrew Skirka. I mean, like, yeah, that's what we did for an hour on a live stream. I mean, stuff like that is just really cool.
Yeah, that was a couple of episodes ago, right?
Yeah.
A few episodes back. And COVID is terrible and it was unfortunate across the board, but it also opened a lot of doors for like content creators, because a lot of people were like, we're all sitting at home, right? You're locked into your house, you're out doing yard work, but you're not really going anywhere. So that means that all of the big production companies, like you're watching Late Night with Jimmy Kimmel or The Tonight Show, and all of a sudden they no longer were able to go to a studio and record these shows for primetime television. And they're kind of thrown in the same mix that we were. Well, we've been doing this. For years we've been doing YouTube, and then we started the podcast before COVID. And then all of these companies that were supplying digital products and digital resources, like you're using StreamYard right now, which is the same program that we use with our guest. That opened up so many avenues. COVID did, because it kind of forced everybody to get better in the digital world. Well, that gave us a chance too to take advantage of that situation. And it really helped grow the audience too, because like I said, so many people are just sitting around, waiting this thing out. And then we're talking digitally. We don't even have to go to each other's houses. And then all of a sudden we don't have to worry about that studio environment. People are kind of desensitized, because they went from watching this super well produced, like great edit with major commercials at 9 p.m. on TV to now all these movie stars and stuff are recording in their house. And so then people,
and honestly, I think the ththing is too, that like a lot of those people, their quality of video was actually worse than what we're doing. And that's so like
seen some,
yeah. So some of them, you get on the late night shows, and some of the people they're having on there, they're glitching out, and the video's really grainy, and the audio's bad because they're talking through a pair of iPhone headphones or something. And here we are, a couple Kentucky boys, with professional microphones and sound gear and stuff like that doing it, and it's all of a sudden it's like, wow, we can actually do this, and it doesn't make us look like we're cheap. We actually look like we know what we're doing a little bit.
Yeah.
And I will say, I don't want to say like we came up with the idea for the live stream stuff. I would definitely say we stole that probably from the Shill brothers.
Yeah.
They started doing the COVID COVID episodes. They're, what do they call it? Backcountry BSing.
Yeah.
They started doing that, and it was so much fun watching that and being on there and chatting with the guys. And for us, it was like, we miss our friends. We can't go backpacking with them right now. So let's do this thing so we can chat with our buddies who we don't get to see anymore. And it just kind of blossomed from there.
Yeah, and John's completely right about like the Shield Brothers Outdoors. If you haven't heard of them, they have a YouTube channel and they do a live stream. And during COVID, they were doing it like every Friday night. So you had something to look forward to every Friday night because you're stuck at home. And me and Backpacking with Jason were on their show before COVID. So they had been doing this well before. And we're like, that's a great idea, man. Let's try it.
Yeah.
So then we started utilizing the live stream to also produce podcast episodes. So you're kind of, you're double dipping, if you will.
Yeah.
So,
and a lot more content creators are starting to do that. I know I've had a couple of people reach out to me and say, when are you going to start turning your live stream into a podcast?
Mm-hmm.
And I might start that next season, but I have to refine the show a little bit more, right? Because obviously I have to bring the time frame down, right? Because, you know, typically you're looking about an hour for, you know, a
unless
podcast.
it's Shug, then you've got to like budget like 4.5 to 5 hours, because that guy is too much fun and you can talk to him forever.
You could do a weekly series on Sean Everett.
Easily, man. He is awesome. I can honestly say, of all of the podcast live streams that we've done, he was by far the most fun and completely out of control podcast we've had to this point. And it was just a blast. I mean, he's the most infectious person on the planet. And so it was awesome even having the chance to talk to him.
I've had Shug on my show last season and this season, right? One talking about winter camping and like winter hammock camping, and then the other one just talking about Sean, right? And yeah, man, that guy, he'll have people in stitches. It's you know, I see more smiley faces and laughing faces in the chat on his shows than any other episode I've ever had, right? So
yeah,
he's hilarious, man.
Yeah. Well, we even had a sponsor, and he plugged the sponsor better than we plugged the sponsor.
Yeah.
Because he used their gear, and that's actually how they sponsored the episode. They heard we had Shug on, so they wanted to sponsor that episode. And so because it was Shug, we tell about the company, and then Shug just goes on like a 3-minute commercial about this company and how much he loves their gear.
Was that Jax or Better?
It was War Bonnet.
War Bonnet. Okay, yeah, he's a big War Bonnet guy. Yeah.
Oh man, it was hilarious. We're just sitting there going, every time we sponsor something, we need Shug on, like,
because he's genuine, you know. He really does
so much.
Oh yeah, and you know his background as an entertainer, obviously, right? Really plays into it. Like, he is a clown.
Yes, like literally professionally.
Yeah.
I wish that I could have saw him live at some of those Ringley Brother shows. I bet that would have been fantastic, man.
Oh yeah.
But he wasn't in there long. I think he's only in the circus about 3 years, right? So.
Yeah, he was only in the circus. Then he kind of did freelanced from there on out, didn't
he? Yeah, an entertainer. Yeah, you can check out his website on that kind of stuff. So yeah, I guess one of my questions for you tonight was going to be like, tell us about one of your most memorable guests, and I guess Shug was probably. But I'll tell you, last night's show,
I was going to say,
I was watching upstairs. I was sitting on my lounge chair, and I was watching it. I'll tell you, man, I had a sore throat. I was laughing so hard.
I got done last night, and I walked in the living room. And I was like, Bridget, did you hear or watch any of that? She was like, no. I was like, thank God.
Oh yeah, man. When he was talking about like the blisters down the nether region, and then having to get the ladies' panties with ribbons on them. It's, you know what? Everybody in the live stream after the show tonight, go over and check out their live stream from last night, because I'll tell you, at about maybe 15, 20 minutes into the show, it just goes like this, right?
Yeah, my favorite phrase of the whole night was, I got to keep the furniture in the kitchen. That was like my favorite. And if you're watching right now, please go over and watch that. I mean, you will not be sorry that you watched this. But oh my gosh, Rue McKinnon, like, we saw a side of Rue I don't think he's ever let out in any other interview. So it was really fun.
It's Rue McKinrick John McKinnon every time.
I can't help it. I'm a Peter McKinnon fan. I like your Canadian counterpart, the photography guy, Peter McKinnon. So I always call him Rue McKinnon, but it's Rue McKenrick.
Yeah, so Rue McKenrick, it's hilarious. He's doing this 13,000 mile trail. It's all on foot around the entire US. And then he comes on there and he's just cracking up last night. And he knew ahead of time, we have a family friendly show, right? We want you to be able to listen to it with your kids, if they're in the car or something or whatever. And he did a great job, man. Keeping it as PG.
He tried to keep it PG for sure. Yeah.
So every kid that would have been watching last night, it would have just been so far over their heads, they would have had no idea what was so funny, which was good. But man, it was hilarious. That was great. I mean, that's our second time having him on the show. And the first time was just kind of getting to know him. And he was just this very genuine, kind person. And I think now that he knows us a little bit better and he's watched some of the other episodes and listened to some of the other ones, he came on just cut loose. And man, it was so much fun.
This is almost like a game of Jeopardy right now, right? Because we just answered the question, and the question was, what was perhaps one of the funniest stories you could share about someone on your show? Ta-da. There we go.
There it is.
Quebec would be proud, right?
Another one that was funny that we just kind of planned and had warned him about was we had Kyle from Kyle Hates Hiking on, and we had a question for him, and we asked him if Dan Becker was actually his father, and we showed a picture of Dan Becker holding a baby with Kyle's face on it and threw that up on the screen. And when Dan Becker saw it, he about fell out. He thought it was the funniest thing he'd ever seen in his life. And we really try to we always try and have fun with the guys that come on and the ladies that come on.
So we had a few ladies too. We had Hike Oregon, which for those that don't know, she has a website and she plans backpacking trips for people that want to come and actually backpack through Oregon. And she has some books and, she runs her own YouTube channel and website, but we also had on Heather Anish Anderson. That was insane. I love it's a completely different beast for record setters. See, I have no interest at all in setting any record, period. What's the hurry? But some people are I'm going to finish this as fast as possible. So we read her book, right? She's a well-known author in the whole outdoor industry. And she writes this book about her story and is very vulnerable. And she talks about how she was fat whenever she was a kid. And her gym teacher was saying, no, you didn't run those laps. I didn't see you run them. There's no way you even finished, blah, blah, blah. You're never going to amount to anything. You're just going to be a couch potato. So she goes out and she sets the overall record for the Pacific Crest Trail, which is thousands of miles.
And it's not just the women's, it's the record, period. Male, female, doesn't matter. She broke the FKT for that.
Yeah. So it's just the best part, I think, about doing the whole podcast and having YouTube channels is the sense of community you get and all the people you get to meet. He's talking about Kyle Hates Hiking, which is another YouTube channel, and Dan Becker, which is another YouTube channel. And we never would have talked to those guys or met those guys. We may have been oh, I'm a fan of what they produce content-wise on the internet, but you never get the chance to kind of interact with them. And that's what's super cool about the live streams. You have the chat over here and everybody can interact with the other people. They can tag each other and then they can actually ask authentic questions that they're curious about and interact with people. Mm-hmm. So the internet opens so many doors, man. I'm young, but it lets you connect with people.
And that's the beauty part is tonight, hopefully, I always open up the panel after the 8:00 hour, after we do our swag giveaway, to invite people on to ask questions of our guests. So that'll give anybody that might want the interactive chance to come up here and ask you guys a question because they follow you on your podcast or your live stream. And you're right. That is the beauty part of this, is you get that interaction with people that you might not ever get the opportunity to meet or speak to or talk with. Right.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and something else, we talked to Rue last night for almost an hour after the podcast, I think. Well, maybe half hour after the podcast last night. And I was just telling him, for me personally, and I think Jeremiah agrees with me on this. I don't want our podcast to be like everybody else's podcast, because they can listen to that. They can listen to everybody else's podcasts and they get what they need. I want to be that podcast where somebody's hiking on a long trail and they've had it's a 30-mile day. Their feet are tired. They're worn out. They're all their gear's wetted out. Life is miserable. They turn on our podcast and they start laughing, and they forget about just how rough the day's been. And they start just kind of enjoying the hike. And the hope is that our podcast can be the one that pulls people out of the funk when they're out there. That somebody's just having a bad day and they're in their car and they're driving back from a bad day at work. They put in our podcast and they're smiling and laughing on the way home, and that's really Jeremiah and myself. Jeremiah has a saying. He says, I'm not going to be here for a long time, but I'm here for a good time, and so like we want people to have a good time. Like, we want them to enjoy the outdoors, like genuinely enjoy it, not feel so serious about it. And I think right now with all the junk from the past year and a half or whatever in the year with COVID, it's just like everybody's become so serious and so political. And it's like, can we just be the escape from all of that? Can we just be the place where people can go and just enjoy themselves and smile and laugh and all of that? Yeah, the community is worth it all. 100%.
Yeah, that's probably one of the most common comments or compliments that I get with doing Canoe Hounds Outdoor Adventure Show, is how it brings a community together, right? And it's wide reaching as well. There's people from, like, perhaps all over Canada and the United States mainly that follow the show. And it is great in that respect that, like, you are bringing a community together. You might not know these people, but you see their names in the chat on a weekly basis, and that it makes it worth producing the show.
Yeah,
it really does.
I've been lucky too. This past year, Jeremiah and I and some other guys went on a trip, and I got heat exhaustion and got it really bad. It was about 90 something degrees outside, 100% humidity. It was super hot, and my temperature shot up to about 102 degrees, and it stayed there for a couple days after that. It was pretty bad, and I realized just how out of shape I'd gotten as far as my weight and everything. And so I put it out. Oh, that's really cool. I put it out on my YouTube channel. I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to be honest and tell everybody what's going on. And I just admitted I'm a fat dude who needs to lose weight and get himself in shape, because this isn't good. And I basically said, if there's a few of you that want to chat about this, and you could email me, maybe a few of us could keep each other accountable and try and lose this weight. And that turned into over 50 emails and an entire Facebook group now. And there are people that are subscribers to my YouTube channel who now are my friends, because we don't just chat through YouTube. We actually know each other on Facebook, and I've gotten, we send private messages to each other, and we encourage each other as we're trying to lose weight and try and get healthy. And it's been pretty awesome.
Yeah. Like, just reading some of these comments, this gentleman here is somebody that I've actually canoe tripped with. Before me doing this show, I never knew this guy, and we met at a local symposium, and said, yeah, we got a trip one day. And a lot of times that it'll happen where people will say that, yeah, we really got to get together, right? And in this case, we actually did get together, and we did a canoe trip last year. And even though we live quite a distance apart, we're buddies now, right? And he's actually one of the fellows I'm planning that trip I was mentioning about in the spring, either hiking or canoe trip, right? So a friendship has been made for sure. It's something that's genuine. We both have a common interest, and the show's kind of brought us together. And that's the one thing I like about the show, the program that you guys do. I mentioned to Jeremiah in the green room, I am not a hiker. I've never been on an overnight hiking, camping trip type of thing. Or canoeing or water sports is more my thing, but not to say I don't want to. And I do have that interest. So you've actually pulled me into your community because it's something that's of interest to me, right? So, and that's the beauty part of these live streams, is we're reaching out to people and, giving them that opportunity to experience through us, or go out and do it yourself.
Yeah, Dennis, and don't feel like if you go out hiking that you have to wear women's underwear or deal with deal with
I'll
this
just
in
stick
the
with the
nether regions.
skirt. I'll stick with the skirt.
You don't have to hike in a skirt either, man.
Yeah. There again, everybody in the chat, you have to go watch their episode of their live stream from last night because you'll know exactly what we're talking about. You'll be laughing your behinds off as well. That's awesome.
So it's such a small world, big world, but small world. I had this guy, his name's Kearney, and he had messaged me and he was like, hey, I was thinking about going and checking out some trails. Do you have any that I should hit up in Kentucky? You know, my YouTube channel, I do a lot of places in Kentucky, and I'm a big UK fan. He knows I'm from Kentucky, blah, blah, blah.
Where are they seated in the tournament this year, by the way?
Shut up, bro.
Oh, sorry.
How's the Ohio State football?
They're great, man. We were second in the nation last year. Where were you guys?
Hey, we
sorry. We have a rivalry like in the US. He's a big Kentucky fan. I'm a big Ohio State fan. And for the first time in my memory, Ohio State is a number 2 seed in the national basketball tournament, and Kentucky's not even in it. The most winning program in the history of college basketball, and they're not even in the tournament this year. So I don't get many opportunities like this to dog on them like internationally.
You might be hearing this one for a while, Jeremiah.
Yeah, this is in Canada, Jeremiah. I'm doing this internationally now. This isn't just in the U.S. I'm internationally dogging on UK. This is awesome.
Oh, wow.
I still bleed blue. And hey, man, next year is going to come quick.
I see a go blue over here. We got a Michigan fan over here.
We will never be as good as you in football.
That's
but don't get your wires crossed on the whole basketball thing, man. Enjoy it while it lasts.
I am.
Most winningest program ever. Listen to John. See, he knows how to fan the flames.
I told you, Jeremiah, you're probably going to hear this for a while. Sports, sports and guys, it's like, you got to throw the gears in there, right?
I know. He does it on purpose just to grind my gears. That picture, so the picture that you used, so we sent you some pictures, right?
Yeah.
Promos and that kind of thing. And the picture that you used, it had a picture of me. We did a gear swap. So I basically brought John my set of gear, and I was like, here you go. And he brought me his set of gear. Here you go. So first of all, our backpacks don't even fit each other. Like I'm 6'3", and you know, he's like, how tall are you, John?
5'8". I'm 5'8".
5'8". So for people that don't backpack, your backpack is kind of tailored to your body size. So you need a certain torso length, you need a certain shoulder strap height, and you need a certain hip belt. So like your hip belt has to cinch around your waist. So like you can buy them in different sizes. His hip belt doesn't cinch around me. And like my hip belt is like open all the way up to
it's around my gut.
So we go on this trip, and John's like, I know what would be a good idea. You're a Kentucky fan. I'm an Ohio State fan. Let's also switch hats. So that's the picture that you have is the only time that I'm associated with Ohio State. Was
that the main thumbnail? You guys are
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I will tell you something about that though. Like that was the first time Jeremiah. There it is, right there. Yeah, there's the UK hat and the Ohio State hat right there.
Yeah.
So that was the first backpacking trip that Jeremiah and I ever did together. Like we met at a coffee shop like a month before that. He had just gotten off the long trail, and so we met up at a coffee shop and talked. And we were like, "Hey, let's get together and do a trip." And then he goes, "I got this idea," and so we did it. And then we get out there. And that sucker packed 2 tents in that backpack of mine. I put this stupid backpack on, and he starts I start pulling the gear out. I'm like, okay, there's a tent. And then I pull out what looks like another tent, and I look at him, and he's dying laughing. Like, this is the funniest thing in the world. And all I'm thinking is, who is this jerk I'm backpacking with right now? He's like packing 2 tents in my backpack, making me go out there. And I ended up having a great time. That was a lot of fun.
I wanted him to have a choice, man. You know, every guy needs some choices in their life. So which tent do you actually want to sleep in? You know, I'm trying to be nice, but
giving him a choice.
Yes.
That's okay. He didn't even fit in my tent, so that made it worthwhile. And I wouldn't trade him.
Dude, variety is the spice of life, you know?
Yeah.
I didn't even he gets me on a tangent. I didn't even get to tell you about Kearney.
Oh yeah, tell us about Kearney.
It's
Let's
okay.
hear it.
So,
Poor Dennis, man. We are totally taking over this guy's
sorry.
podcast.
Go ahead, Dennis.
Hey,
We're
I see
terrible.
people are having a chuckle in the chat, so that's a good thing.
So I was saying the sense of community, right? That's like the whole underlining like motivation, and you get to know people. This guy messaged me and he's asking for like what's some good places. I want to get into hiking, but I haven't went. I hunt, and when you deer hunt, you have to hike in, and you have to gut that deer and pull it back out of the wood. So you're still hiking and stuff. But he's like, I want to go out and enjoy the trail. What should I do? Blah blah blah. And so it come to find out he lives in the exact same town as me. And then just randomly, I was walking into the gym, getting my workout on, and he stops me and he's like, "You're Jeremiah Stringer. What's up, man?" And I was like, "Hey, yeah, what's your name?" And he's like, "Oh, sorry. I don't want to come off as weird or anything. My name's Kearney, and I'm the guy that you've been messaging back and forth on Facebook Messenger." And so we stood outside the gym and talked for like 15 to 30 minutes just about backpacking and about life and whatever. And he's like, dude, it's super cool. I'll shoot you a message on Facebook. And we kind of decided, let's actually go on at least a day hike together. He's getting into hiking. You normally get your feet wet. You do some day hiking, then you go out and start spending the night and stuff. So I'm like, okay, let's do this day hike. So we keep messaging, and we planned the hike, and I showed him some super cool spots in the Red River Gorge, which is in northeastern Kentucky. And I invited another friend on the trip that had just moved back from Seattle, Washington, that grew up in this same town. And I was like, I hope it's not weird that I invited, it's me and my wife, it's Kearney and his girlfriend, and it's this other couple that I was starting to get to know that moved back, and I bumped into them in downtown, and they were starting a nonprofit for outdoors, to help get kids outdoors. And I'm a teacher. They're wanting to do a school program, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, man, I really hope it's not weird. I don't know if I should tell everybody that these other people are coming, or maybe we should just show up, because I don't want anybody to back out. I want everybody to have a good time. Well, we all show up. I don't remember if I told them or not ahead of time. And it turns out that the other guy that I invited, not Kearney, the other guy and his wife that had just moved back, and they brought their daughter too, sweet little girl. And he had went to high school and was like super good friends with Kearney's girlfriend. So turned out to be a super fun trip, although it did turn into a disaster at the end because I pushed it a little bit too hard, and we had to not hike.
Did you end up canoeing at the end of that trip? Or?
We did. We had to follow the river back to the vehicles. It's like an off-trail thing. It's unmarked, and it's their first ever like hiking out in the Red River Gorge and actually getting out in it, besides hunting and fishing, that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I'm sorry guys, but there's no way we're going to make it back to the vehicle before dark. So they ended up doing the last hour to 2 hours of our hike in the dark. And that's a completely different experience for those people who have never hiked in the dark, especially whenever you're on an unmarked trail. So luckily we had the river there. Everybody made it back. We had a great time. And then the people, so you had the couple and the other couple, my wife and I were like, we got to go, guys. And they're like, do y'all want to go get some food? And the two couples connected and went and got food and had dinner together while my wife and I actually went back home. So the community, the world's small, community driven, man. It's awesome hooking people up and just having a good time.
Common interest that brings people together. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yep, absolutely.
So we're at the 8 o'clock hour. I usually run my swag giveaway around this time, but I want to get a couple of quick power questions in here, quick answer type of things, just to get a few people's questions in, if that's cool with you guys. Mustang 774 is asking, how do you get your guests for your shows, and how far in advance do you plan questions and things like that?
We just ask. I mean, we just figure out, we figure out, we sit down, we have a meeting. We didn't do it today because I think we both forgot, but we usually meet every Tuesday at 4, and we just have a meeting and we talk about the podcast and what do we need to work on. What we just called our business meeting, and we start going, okay, who would we like to have on the show? And so we have this master list of names, and we have a little competition going between the two of us to see who can get the most guests on the show. But we've been working on that, and we just contact them, and then once they get back to us, we figure out what times work best. And we do all of our live streams on Monday nights. It's every Monday night at 8:30 Eastern time, and we just get them on there. And then if they don't want to do a live stream, if they're not comfortable with doing that kind of thing, like Heather Anish Anderson, she just did an audio podcast, and we did that on like a Tuesday or something like that. So that's usually how we get them.
Yeah. I think that we try to stay booked up about anywhere from 2 weeks to a month out. That way it's not too far off, and you're not like booking people and then you're reminding them so many times like, hey, you still good, and then you have to pull somebody because they had to cancel. So yeah, about a month.
It also gives us room if we plan a backpacking trip out of the blue, we don't have to do one that night.
Right.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, I'm about the same. I'm looking 2 weeks to a month. I'd like to plan ahead, and then I have, of course, all the planned or the canned topics. Things that if we don't have a guest, we can work on a topic. And then I've got a few regulars that are on the show, and all my viewers know who they are. And we turn a night where there's not a guest into a topic, right? So
yeah, and Google is super useful for us too. Like we're like partners on this. So if one of us types, the other can see it in real time, and then we'll meet and actually do like a private StreamYard session. Works out well.
StreamYard's awesome for that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. Douglas is asking, what trails are on your bucket lists?
Oh man.
I hear you guys talk of so many trails that I've never heard of because I'm not a backpacker.
Yeah.
But there's got to be a couple.
I've got 3 and plans to do all of them. There's the Laurel Highlands Trail in Pennsylvania. It's about 70 miles. I'm doing that one in November, and then hopefully next year I can get 2 or 3 weeks off so that I can do the Tahoe Rim Trail, around Lake Tahoe. And then I want to do the John Muir Trail like there's no tomorrow. If you've ever seen the movie Mile and a Half, that movie messed me up because now I can't get that trail out of my head, and I never have ever since then. So I'm really wanting to do the John Muir Trail, and I think I'm going to do that one in 2024. And it's a very specific reason. I turned 50 at the end of 2023, so I want to do that as like my 50th birthday party for myself.
That'd be a great one, man.
How about yourself, Jeremiah?
I want to do the JMT as well. Where I'm a teacher, so I get spring break, fall break, winter break, and then summer break. Summer break is the longest. You're off like maybe mid-May, depending on how much snow you've gotten and how much they canceled school. Because here, snow is the end of the world. Like we'll take off weeks. So they tack those days on, and then we'll go back at the end of July. So that lets me like pick some longer trails that I can stay gone for a little while. So I kind of try to stay in those types of distances, a month to less. And I think this summer, what was supposed to happen is my wife and I were supposed to do the Camino de Santiago, which is like a pilgrimage backpacking. You don't sleep in a tent or anything. You're in hostels every night, and you basically backpack for around 500 miles, depending on which path you take. And we were going to do the French way. So you'd hike from France, the border, a little bit across the border in France, across Spain to the western part of the country where it meets the ocean, right? You're hitting the coastline. So that is 100% on the bucket list. And we would have done it this summer, but then COVID, and you can't really go to other countries right now. Either they won't let you in or you have to quarantine. So I think that we're going to push that at least a year to 2 years. And then I would like to do the AT, but I did the Vermont Long Trail. And as I mentioned before, that took me about a month. And for anybody that's been away from their family for an extended amount of time, you know how difficult it is just not being able to see your loved ones, being able to sit down with them in person. You know, you can't even give somebody a hug. So that was very hard on me to finish.
You can hug people, but it'd be really awkward.
Yeah.
But
it's not your wife or your kid.
Exactly. Just grab some random guy hiking by you just to give him a hug. No big deal.
Yeah, that would be crazy now, I guess, after COVID. Not get fit like Violet. So I want to do the AT kind of, and if my wife wants to either do it too, or you know how people do the van life, if she would meet me every week or so or less than that, because the AT, it goes from Georgia to Maine and it crosses the road all the time, like multiple times a day often. She could kind of be a support system. And then also we could spend time together, because I don't think I can be away from my family for 5 months. It's just not going to happen. So those are my kind of bucket list.
Yeah. Do you two hike together often, or like are you fairly close to each other geographically? You're both in Kentucky, right?
Yeah, about an hour.
Yeah,
an hour apart.
Yeah, hour and 15 minutes, something like that.
But do you guys get out on like weekend hikes or anything like that, or just like day hikes in your area?
We've hiked a few times together. Yeah, we've shared some steaks around a fire. It's been fun. Yeah, we've got there's a group of 3 of us. It's the 2 of us and then Jason Wall. Now they get to backpack more often. I actually work at a church, so I don't get Sundays off. So they get to like go out on all these weekend trips, and I just get to see pictures of it. But occasionally we all get to sneak off together, and it's just too much fun. Great guys.
Yeah. That's awesome. All right, guys. You know what? I'm going to get ready here for my swag giveaway. I'm just going to put you guys, I'm going to go full screen for a minute here until the thing's over. And then I'm going to invite a few guests up to see if anybody would like to come up and ask you some questions. And in the second half here, I'd like to actually get into some advice from you guys for people that are maybe just breaking into backpacking and hiking. And, you know, maybe we'll talk a bit about gear and things like that. So sit tight. I'll be with you guys in just a minute. And good time to go for a pee break or something if you need to. Okay, I'll be with you in a minute here. All right, everybody. So far, hey, this is great, man. These guys are a couple of stand-up dudes. You really need to check out their live stream and their podcast, because they do put out an enjoyable show. And you know what? Even if hiking isn't your thing, because we all know that, and I've mentioned this a couple times already, blah, blah, blah. But hiking is not my thing, right? But I enjoy their podcast and their live stream. I mean, thoroughly. You know, it's a very high entertainment value. So make sure you check them out. Anyways, time to get on with the swag giveaway. Tonight we're going to be giving away a Canoe Hound Adventures prize pack. It's the usual, a set of our decals and some patches. And I'm also going to throw in a little bit of stuff here from Algonquin Outfitters and sticker and stuff like that. And it's going to go to we'll do one lucky winner tonight. And let's see here. Let me pull up the question for tonight's swag giveaway. And if you could please not put the answer, don't put the answer over there in the chat, because you need to actually send me your email, an email to COAS prize by Saturday at 11, and we will do the drawing for the swag. And the question for tonight's giveaway is, and this has been mentioned a few times throughout the show, including about maybe 2 minutes ago, John had mentioned it, is on what night does the Backpacking Podcast go live on YouTube? So if you can let me know that by Saturday at 11 p.m. to coasprize@gmail.com. And we'll do the draw on Sunday, and we will be in contact with the winner and make the announcement of the winner next week. I will leave this going across the screen here for a short moment. And you know what? I'm going to give everybody an extra opportunity to get an extra ballot in for this. Let me know what time their podcast goes live. Okay, according to Eastern Standard Time. If you can let me know what night and what time it goes, you can earn 1 or 2 ballots. All right, so there you go. There's your homework for the night. And let's get back here to Jeremiah and John. Oh, there we go, boys. Here we go. I hit the wrong buttons. I think I know this like off the back of my hand. I still hit the wrong buttons from time to time. Jeez. Okay, so I just want to, I'm going to drop the link into the YouTube chat for anybody that might want to come up and ask the boys a question. And this is it. There you go. And you know the regular routine, please just shut off your YouTube volume. Only go by StreamYard volume if you do decide to pop up on screen and ask a question of the boys. So love to have you up here. Okay, guys. So we were talking a bit about your podcast, your show. Quick question about that too. So you do the live stream on the night that is the answer for the question below, right?
Yes, we do. Every week.
Yeah. And now when does the actual podcast come out according to that show?
It's a little less than 2 weeks, I believe.
Okay.
So that Google, the Google that I mentioned earlier, where we both use it, we have a backpacking podcast account. John's joking earlier about us being organized, but I'm a math teacher. So like I have to have everything as structured as I can. So I like all the we have a full spreadsheet. So for instance, the episode that we recorded most recently, it will go live on the 31st. So I guess that's technically 16 days.
That's the episode that you did last night.
Yeah.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, everybody, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Like
make
everybody
sure you're
have
not,
the
there's nothing in your mouth during the second half of that thing because it'll go everywhere.
Yeah.
Promise that.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? Anybody that listens to last night's episode on a podcast is going to be missing so much. Because like you said about the Joe Rogan thing, the viral parts there, there's a lot of visuality there. Just watching the expressions that he had on his face when he was telling these stories, right?
I told Rue, I was like, bro, your publicist, your HR person is never going to let you around us again. He's like, I'm just having a good time, man. So it all turned out to be fun, you know?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay, I see we do have somebody in the basement here. I'll get to him. I'm just going to post one more time here. And I'd like to put the link into the chat a few times so that people have that opportunity. So welcome to the stream. Ollie, hey, how you doing? You were on a few weeks ago.
Hi, guys. I hope my
Hey,
English
what's
is
up?
better this time.
Yeah. Got a question for the boys, Ollie?
Well, more or less, it's just actually you guys were talking about the French tour, and I did it quite a few years ago, and I just wanted to barge in real quick because I just finished working and I'm too lazy to type. It's really great. Do it. If I can give you an advice though, if you can go into in Switzerland instead, in the what they call the Jura, you can go through French. There's the European Jura and then the Switzerland Jura. It's awesome. It's really, really great. It's one of the best detour I've ever done. And you can actually, probably in the States, you probably guys have it too, but I know in my province, I'm in Quebec, and they have the you can do the tour with support, which means you just leave with a day pack with just basically snacks and stuff like that. And you can stop in Chamonix if you want to and things like that. It's really, really great. And it's not really expensive because they take care of everything. And you can have like package deal where they bring you to winery. You can take like a week off and then go in wineries and different stuff like that. It's really great. It's awesome. I heard you talking about it and I was like, oh yeah, that's a great spot. I did it like when I was maybe 20 years old, and it was just great. It was a great experience. That was my introduction to really long hiking, and it's just awesome. It's just a great thing to do.
Can I ask you for some advice on something specifically? So
come again?
Can I ask you for advice on something specific for the trip?
Go ahead. Maybe I'll have the answer, maybe not.
Okay. So for those that are listening, we're talking about the Camino de Santiago, and you're talking about taking the French path, right?
Yeah, exactly. In Europe, right?
Yes. So my wife, she wants to do it with me, but she also wants to vacation while we're in Europe because we've never been to Europe. And we want to fly over. And since I'm off work, in May until end of July, I can do the hike, which I figure would take about a month, maybe a little more. And then
yeah, it goes from 3 weeks. You can do a package deal of 3 weeks to I've seen 8 weeks also. And I have a customer of mine that does up to 10 weeks hike, which they have also buses that can shuttle people from one like hostel to another hostel or to a village from another village. They just don't do it from one country to another country. So let's say you want to do the French tour and you want to go over in Italy by going through the White Mountain or I don't know, it's called in English Les Pyrénées, which is up north. They won't do that because they have to go through customs, so you have to stay with the groups. But I've heard of older people doing it and having their companion basically just shuttling through bus with the luggage. Sounds odd, but basically that's what they do.
Yeah, so I can use a service there and leave, like fly over there with my full like vacation loadout, like all my clothes, all my luggage, and pay for that service and them hold that until after I'm done. And then we can meet up with them, even if we're not using them to do the service the whole time. I could have them to store my stuff.
Pretty much, yeah. They can. They basically. You have to look to different company. I know that the one in Montreal I was talking with, they can shuttle a lot of gear. So I've heard of like she was telling me that some people would have their vacation stuff to go to like Monaco or alpine gear to go to ski in the Jura or in Chamonix, and they would just basically put all that in the bus and basically just shuttle it. I know there's an extra fee, so I wouldn't be able to give you the price on that. I really don't know. What I did it with a French friend of mine and a German French of mine, and we basically just followed a trail on the map and basically just stopped when we got lost and decided to find a way again and then pick it up from there. It was more freestyle back in the days. Now it's more, you can get groups that are more manageable and more basically they take care of everything for you, like food wise, hostel wise, and you basically with a guide that has all the knowledge of all the trail because they did it quite a few times. So it's really good also for people that don't necessarily have all the skills for mountaineering or for long trekking. They can do it as really like a pilgrimage type thing.
My wife's going to be excited, man. Thank you so much for the advice and the comments.
Yeah, just look for the company. Like from what they told me, because I wanted to do it last year, there's one section I actually cut because I really wanted to go do the White Peak in Chamonix. So I had to cut one part and then take a TGV from Vichy, which is kind of in the middle, in straight line with Europe, with Paris, I mean. And then from there, go to Toulouse and then come back up a little bit so I can get to Chamonix and do the White Peak, which is awesome. It's like 4,600 meters high, but you can actually take a gondola and then go to like almost 3,000 and you just hike the last 1,600 meters. So it's really great because it gives you an introduction to oxygen deprivation and really, really big height without having to actually walk the whole damn thing, which is great. It's awesome. It's a cheap shot, but it's awesome. It's when you get into it for the first time, it feels really safe because you just go there with your skis and you just basically ski down, which is awesome. But you don't have to carry that much gear because you can do it basically in one day or so. And now they have cabin up at the top, so you can actually reserve and sleep there. So I basically cheated about, let's say, 200 kilometers or so, because I wanted to go there with my friends. And then after this, from there, we met some people that were in Jura, and then they told us like, oh, it's really great. You have to come over there. It's awesome. I mean, you guys are good in skis. We can use you as instructor. So we were just like, oh, awesome, money. And we just basically cut off. So I did it, but I didn't do a true hike. I just did two-thirds of it kind of thing. So I want to go do and finish the two last section.
Wow. There you go, Jeremiah. You guys are going to have to connect after the show there. Now you get some more tips and advice from him, right?
Yeah, thank you, Ollie. That's
no
all.
worries. That's all. I have no question.
Awesome. Thanks, Ollie. Appreciate you popping on. Good to see you again.
You guys have a good night. Take care,
You
man.
too.
Thank you.
That's awesome. You know what? That's the best part of all this here. You get to get a little education while you're at it too, right?
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah, this is great commentary. That's awesome.
Yeah, cool. Tooth Cruise here is asking, you guys got any Canadian trails on your radar, or have you ever hiked any Canadian trails?
I don't know any Canadian trails, honestly. I gotta be honest, I don't really know any. So I'd like to. I mean, I'm planning on hopefully in 2022 being up in Alberta, and that I'm hooking up with some buddies of mine who are other YouTubers, and they all live up in that area, and we're hoping to do some stuff up in the Canadian Rockies. So I'm not sure what trails we're doing. I'm just going up there, and they're going to tell me what to do, and I'm going to go with them, and we're going to have a blast.
Yeah.
So, I'm with John. I don't, go ahead.
Sorry.
Jim. What are you going to say?
Oh, I thought you were going to say something. Sorry, I was just going to pop another question up.
Oh, you're good. I was just saying I'm with John. I don't know any of the Canadian trails, so it's hard for me to answer.
Yeah.
Bears.
Pearson's asking, bears.
Yes,
Ever had
yes,
any encounters
yes.
with bears?
Just yes.
Yeah.
They're all over Kentucky and Tennessee. And
John, have you had any scares with bears?
Maybe. I've seen bears out before. Like, that's not a big deal. But I was hiking the Sheltoe Trace, and me and my buddy Brian, aka the Flash, were hiking, and there was a section of woods right next to us where some high grass, and like by high I mean it was like 6 foot high grass, and it was just, you could hear something walking through right beside us, and it was breathing really heavy and really deep, and I saw a flash of black, and I kind of jumped, and when I jumped, it took off. I never saw exactly what it was, but there was no way that was a raccoon. So I mean, that's probably the closest for me as far as like anything like a close call. I've never had any charge me or anything like that. Most of them are just, where we live, they're black bears, and they're not very big, and they are terrified of humans. And so they typically, as long as you're not messing with their babies, they're gonna run away.
They're like a big nuisance a lot of times down south, especially through the Smokies. Like, they have bear cables for all the trails in the Smokies, and you're not supposed to hang. You have to stay at the established campsites and like schedule them ahead of time. And if you're through hiking on the AT, you're supposed to sleep in the shelters, and there's cables, and you like hook your food and you pull the cable up, and that suspends your food in the air. And the bears were getting so smart that they were figuring out how to cut the cord with their claws, and then the food would drop. So if you were to like pull your food over a tree branch and suspend it in the air and then tie it around the tree, they could just slice that with their claws.
Wow. Yeah. We had an episode here a few weeks back on bear safety in the backcountry, and we had one of our guests is a rather popular YouTuber up here in Ontario, Chris Prouse, and she and her partner and their little guy had been on a canoe trip, and same thing, they hung it from a cable, right? And when they woke up, and like they've got this on video. I'll fix you guys up with the video. You got to watch it because it's scary, but educational in the same right? But this bear actually got into their food barrel while it was hanging. So it was probably doing like the old shimmy thing across the cable.
Wow.
And got the lid off and got all their food out. Right. So yeah, they're crafty. They're crafty little buggers.
Yeah.
I was just watching videos of that the other day of bears getting up on those cables, because at least the ones in the Smokies, like what we're talking about down in Tennessee, those are they're metal cables.
Mm-hmm.
And so they can hold a lot of weight, and it's nothing to see a bear climb up the side of one of those poles, get out on that cable, and try and get to what's hanging up there, because they know it's food. And I mean, we found out, we were studying to talk about bears in one of our podcasts early on, and we found out bears have 30,000 times the sense of smell that human beings have. So you can try and like hide the scent from them. It's not working. They know it's there. So bears are
check out that episode there if you have bears are nuisance for you, because we had some really good information shared on that one there. this here is regarding one of your shows that I seen a few weeks ago, Up Trail 71. He's been watching Syntax 77 since 2012.
Hey, Bob.
It was awesome to see him on your podcast. How long have you guys been watching his channel? I know I've been watching his channel for a couple of years.
Yeah, I started watching. I've watched several of Up Trail's videos. Probably started watching 2017 when I was preparing for the Sheltoe Trace. So got to watch a lot of his stuff up in Michigan.
Yeah, and so he's asking about Syntax 77 too, since he was on the show, right? So Syntax is like an OG on YouTube for the backpacking world. You know, he's been around for a long time and just been grinding and grinding. I'd say that I started watching like these bigger name channels like Syntax. He has a lot of subscribers. I started watching him when
just hit 100,000.
Yeah. So I started watching him right before my first trip, and also Homemade Wanderlust and Darwin were like my three big, let me get some information. Let me figure out my gear situation. And speaking of, let me grab my charger for this computer so it doesn't die while we're on stream.
Well, what I'll say is, of the three people he just mentioned, Darwin, Syntax, and Dixie, who does Homemade Wanderlust, we've had two of them on our show. We're trying to get a hold of Dixie. She's hard to get a hold of. She's always
I've actually been trying to get a hold of Dixie myself, and she is she's a tough one to get a hold of. Right?
Yeah,
but she's probably getting requests left, right, and center, right? So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I want to let Bob know too. I'm actually doing Pictured Rocks in May with a bunch of friends of mine. So definitely going up to one of the areas where he's done videos on before. I saw a few people commenting about that they've seen his videos on that. So, but Syntax too, for me, he was a guy early on I liked just because his videos are literally just his trip. Like from when from when he gets to the parking lot to when he gets back to his car at the end and eats a cheeseburger. You know, I mean, it's just like they're great. I don't always get to watch them in one sitting because they're about an hour to an hour and a half long, but I do like watch them in 2 or 3 different sittings.
Yeah, and it's funny because his trips there, you would think maybe some of the footage might be boring, but it's not.
Yeah,
you know, so it's Johnny from Keel Quest, how you doing, buddy?
Good, Dennis. How you doing?
Good. Long time no see. Hope Colleen's doing well.
Yeah, she's working tonight, but she'll be home here shortly.
There you go. Obviously, you're familiar with John and Jeremiah's show. I've seen you on their in their chat quite often.
Yeah, we had John on one of our streams a while back. That was good. That was a fun time.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Cool. What do you got for the boys?
So backpacks, chicken trapper.
Yes.
So how do you guys compare that to oh my gosh, I can't think of the other company, the one that Miyagi uses.
Oh, Pari Outdoors.
There's that one, and you got one for trips.
Let's see. She has
that Denier one.
Oh, she has the Crown, doesn't she? Does she have what company does she have?
Yeah, the one where we got our food bags and stuff.
Yeah, well, I've actually backpacked with them. I've backpacked with them, and Jeremiah has too. When I did Grayson Highlands with them, he's super ultralight. Like he's one of these guys that he's got this really tiny pack and everything like that.
He said it's less than 25 pounds.
Yeah, with everything in it, camera gear and everything, he's less than 25 pounds. And then like my gear, I try and keep it under. Jeremiah don't even talk about how heavy his gear can get sometimes. But when I hiked with them, I would say that the backpacks from Chicken Tramper, I would put them up against pretty much any other frame pack. I just like the way they're set up. They're easy to use. I'm a big fan of just a big open bag. I don't want to have like 50 different pockets and zippers all over the place and connectors. And I just want a big open bag with 2 pockets on the side and a big pocket on the front that I can put stuff in, and I'm good to go. I can organize my own stuff. I don't need the pack to do it for me.
Anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, the chick.
He's been looking at those guys. Of course, them being up in the UP here. So,
yeah, I've been using that backpack on every trip I've went on, like from midwinter to now. Like I just used it last weekend, and there's a lot of great stuff I love about it. And they modded mine. I think they modded John's too, because I think it's supposed to be 45-ish liters, and they made them a little bigger because like we just like to pick more stuff. So the frame is made of carbon fiber arrows. So that makes the frame really, really light compared to my Osprey. My Osprey is like 4.5 pounds. And this Chicken Tramper one is like 20 something ounces, I think, maybe 2 pounds.
No, it's crazy sick light compared to, I mean, we have Gregory packs, and I think my one Gregory pack weighs just as much as Miyagi's full pack.
Yeah,
it's crazy heavy. I mean, when we were doing our hikes and stuff like that, we were lugging. I think mine weighed out at like 55 pounds, and Colleen had like 40 in hers. So that's like no, I'm done with this. I want ultralight. I was like, all right, you find it and get it. So.
Well, and we have codes too. If you use them, it doesn't do anything for us, but it'll give you 10% off of their backpacks too. So you shoot me a message, I'll give you a code so you can get 10% off of it too. Because we really like the guys. Like we really just like the guys from Chicken Tramper. They're good guys. They make good gear, and they really. I mean, I like the pack a lot. I've been using the ULA Ohm 2.0 since I guess 2018, summer of 2018, and I've tried other packs and I can't. Nothing could compare to it. And I did this Chicken Tramper one, and I put down the ULA, which is a shocker. So
look who just showed up.
Hey,
Colleen,
come say hi.
So I just want to say, like,
she's like
guys, you're kind of. Hi, Colleen. How you doing?
Hi, everybody. What's going on?
We're talking a little bit of hiking and backpacking.
Oh, sorry. Cool. How was the show tonight?
It's going well.
It was rough, really rough. The guests have been awful.
I know.
But Dennis is holding it together. Dennis is holding it together. Really well.
You guys suffered through all those crazy Canadians.
Don't tell them crazy Canuck. No.
Is the show on right now?
Yes, it is.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you're crashing the party, gal.
This is not the green
Oh,
room.
I thought it was the.
See, what happens on Canoehound Adventures stays on Canoehound Adventures, right?
All right, I'll see you guys in a minute.
So John, Jeremiah, the one thing about backpackers, it seems to be one of these things where obviously because you're carrying it on your back, gear weight is essential, right? Trying to find the lightest weight. Where does it happen? Like where do the lines meet where, lightweight now is becoming inefficient or not optimal for the type of gear that you need to be using? Like how light is good? Does that make sense? You know where I'm going with that?
You can get really light and still be optimal. I mean, you really can. You have to spend the money to do it because the lighter the gear, the more expensive it gets. But I mean, right now, I'm a hammock camper. I love to hammock camp.
Same here.
And you can get a Cloud 71 hammock from Dutchware Gear for the same price as a regular one, and the hammock weighs like 7 ounces. And it's just as good as any other hammock. And you can get Cuban fiber everything, or I guess not Cuban fiber, Dyneema. You can get Dyneema anything now, and that's super light, and it does the trick. It gets the job done. But if you're getting started, that's kind of impossible because there's no way you could afford to get a backpacking gear set up because of the cost of it.
Mm-hmm.
I know for me, I try and I'm not worried about being ultralight, but I do want to keep my base weight under 15 pounds if I can, just because I'm not as young as I used to be, and my back really likes it when I lower the weight. So
sure,
I try and keep it down as much as I can.
So what's a base weight that you're going to be carrying? Like your pack, how low can you get it to be comfortable on a backpacking trip? I'll ask both of you. So.
Go ahead, Jeremiah. Go ahead.
For me, I learned it's different for everybody, of course, but anything fully decked out with like 1.5 liters of water or so and multiple days worth of food, if it's under 30 pounds in the right backpack for me, then it's okay. Now, obviously, the lighter, the better. And John's talking about base weight, and base weight means you're removing anything consumable, including food and water and fuel. So my base weight, I never really know. It's really heavy in the wintertime because you got to take much warmer gear. But in the summertime, even with budget gear, I think that your whole loadout, without going too expensive, can be like under 20 pounds for a couple of nights, no issues. But obviously, like the lighter the gear, the better. So your backpack, the lightest backpack you can get that's going to last the longest, the lightest sleeping bag or top quilt you can use, and then whatever your shelter system is. So if it's a hammock, you got to have the under quilt, you got to have the tarp. And if it's a tent, like I have a 1.5 person tent, so that cuts a lot of weight versus taking my hammock set up. Because in the wintertime, I'd have to take the 0 degree under quilt. That's heavy. I got a double layer gathered in hammock. I got a 13-foot tarp. Like all that stuff adds up.
Because he's 8 feet tall. When you're that tall, you kind of don't have a choice on that one. So
yeah, you know, the thing is like I'm looking at this underquilt or underquilts and overquilts hanging up behind you there. So you got a couple of ounces hanging up behind you there, right? So
yeah, it gets expensive, man. It's expensive hobby to get all the right gear at the right weight.
Yeah.
Right. So when you guys are packing for one of these adventures, do you look at your gear and say, okay, yeah, I want to go light, but I'm not sacrificing on, let's say, for instance, I'm bringing my hammock because I want to sleep good. You know what I mean? Like, to me, that's always being a canoeist, right? Or like, you know, a paddler, gear weight isn't quite as critical as it would be for somebody that's actually toting the stuff on your back for an entire day. Right. Yeah. When is it that you look at the gear and say, yeah, I think I'm going to sacrifice the weight for the comfort?
I think it depends on what kind of trip you're doing. If you're doing like a weekend trip, I'll carry extra stuff. I don't mind. It's just a weekend. You know, I can carry a little extra weight for a few days. But if I'm like when I go to do the Tahoe Rim Trail or when I'm doing the Laurel Heights, the Laurel Highlands Trail, I'm definitely cutting as much. I'm probably not bringing a chair with me because honestly, when I thru hike, I'm not doing campfires and stuff. I'm like, I get done at the end of the day. I'm eating my food. I'm going to bed. I'm tired. I just hike 20 miles or 15 miles or whatever it is that day. I don't really want to sit up and do a whole lot. So for me, the weight just matters on the trip. If I'm just doing a weekend trip, I'm bringing a chair. I'm bringing my hammock. I'm bringing my heavy pillow. I'm bringing all my good stuff with me. I might bring, you know, for the first night, you can ask your mom this. I'm bringing a steak and potatoes for dinner that night. I mean, if I'm just doing a weekend, I'm not worried about it. But if I'm doing like a week or 2 weeks or a month, there's no way I'm taking some of that stuff because you've got to do it every single day. You're doing longer miles. When you're doing a weekend trip, you're typically 10 miles is probably the biggest day you're going to have doing a weekend trip most of the time. So doing a lot of heavy gear just doesn't make sense on those kinds of trips, on the longer trips. But the short trips, I'm bringing it all, man. I'm there to have a good time.
Yeah, when I was doing the long trail, I was like trying to figure out every sacrifice I could make gear wise and still be comfortable enough. Right? You're out there. You got to balance, like you said, a good night's sleep with a good day of backpacking. So, like on a weekend trip, I'll bring 2 pillows. But if I'm through hiking something, I won't bring a pillow. I'll take my down jacket, and what I'll do is I'll tuck it into the hood, and then I'll use that as the pillow. So then it's comfortable enough. But whenever I'm out on the weekend, I want to put a nice pillow under my head, and I want to put a nice pillow between my legs if I'm sleeping on my side, keep my knees apart. And then I took a completely different tent. I borrowed somebody's Z-Pax duplex, which is like a 2-person tent that weighs about a pound-ish. I guess depending on what model you get, but it's one of the lighter 2-person tents out there. But it's also like $600, $700.
Yeah. Really quick there, Johnny. Do you have your YouTube volume on by any chance?
No, man, I'm muted.
Okay. No. It's we're getting a bit of feedback for you. It's probably just the internet. So with that being said, then guys, like we'll talk a bit about diet on the trips. I know you both mentioned that you've lost both a ton of weight. Well, not a ton of weight, but quite a few pounds through this lifestyle of backpacking. What's your typical diet like when you're on a backpacking trip, we'll say like a week-long adventure, John, you mentioned, you'll bring a steak, maybe for the first night or something.
Yeah.
Well, what's your typical diet? Is it freeze-dried, dehydrated, fresh?
If I'm doing a week long, I'm going cheap. So, what I've done in the past, and I'm actually doing a keto diet right now. So, I can't do what I've done in the past, or I'll mess everything up on that. But typically, what I would do is I'm big into the north sides, like the rice and noodle sides. I'll bring a lot of chicken and tuna packets with me. I've got a collection of hot sauces from different restaurants that I'd collect as I go places. And it's like a Ziploc bag full of this stuff: soy sauce, mustard, ketchup, mayonnaise. I have to recheck the mayonnaise every once in a while to make sure it's not too old. But I just keep all these things so I can flavor stuff. Mashed potatoes. I try and go as cheap as possible. Anything with tortillas. Like anybody who's done a lot of long distance backpacking, you're using tortillas because they're easy to pack. They have a ton of calories and they bake everything a sandwich or a burrito, basically. So for me, I do a lot of that. And then like my breakfasts are almost always like, what I'll do is get granola and powdered milk and like hot chocolate mix or something like that. And I'll just put it in separate little Ziploc bags, add water to that in the morning, let it soak for a little bit. And then I eat it. It's like chocolate cereal.
Almost like Cocoa Puffs.
Yeah, kind of. And so I have that for breakfast a lot. That's because it's easy. I don't have to heat anything.
Yeah.
And if I'm really lazy, which when you find out when you through hike, you get a lot lazier on food and stuff than you would on a regular trip. And I know for me, sometimes I'll just make cold coffee because I don't feel like boiling water. I'm just like
cold coffee. Wow.
I'm too tired. I don't feel like doing it. So I'll just throw a Starbucks Via packet down into a water bottle and just go, because I don't want to take the time to make breakfast and all that. I want it to be as easy as possible and quick. So
yeah. Well, Jeremiah, you're a bigger dude, like 6'3". You need probably a lot to fuel that system, right?
Well, if I'm doing the weekend trip, my diet's going to be pretty similar to John's. Like at night, the first night, always bring something good. Bring home cooked food. Cook it ahead of time or cook it over the fire. And then if you're going to stay out there the next day and you're not in a hurry and you're only doing a few miles, I'll bring like as a lot of a skillet as you can, and I'll cook like eggs and I'll cook bacon and I'll cook biscuits. And
hey, Jeremiah,
yeah,
I got a skillet. I just got a titanium skillet. So
just
letting you know, I'm excited. Just came in this week, so I'm ready.
We'll take that in the woods, man. I'll bring mine too.
Oh yeah.
So if I'm doing a weekend trip, it's looking like that. I have a picture here in front of me of my most recent weekend trip, and I can tell you what I took if you'd like, and then we can get very specific. And then on a long trail, like calories are pretty much unlimited. So I'll eat anything and everything, like all kinds of chocolate. Lunch, you may get something like tortillas or take bagels, and I would take bagels and salami and some string cheese and some of those cherry tomatoes and cut those in half and make myself a little sandwich. You'd buy a bag of Doritos, you buy a bag of or like a box of cereal and throw the box away and just carry the bag of cereal with you and just eat it. You're trying to take in as many calories as possible. Yeah. But like I said, I'm organized, or at least try to be. So on my trips, if I'm going Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I just make myself a little sticky note and I'll do across the top Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then on the side, I'll do breakfast snack, lunch snack, dinner snack. So Friday night, I had a protein bar. And then for dinner, I took hot dogs, buns, chips. And then like John's saying, we saved those little packets of ketchup and mustard and hot sauce.
Make anything good, right?
Oh yeah,
absolutely. And then I ate some Girl Scout cookies. And then the next day, breakfast was oatmeal with hot chocolate and coffee mixed together, which I'll never drink cold coffee. Sorry, John, not unless it's like ice.
I had to shake my head on that, even though half my coffee is like finished cold anyway. So
now the key is you want a second breakfast. Crucial to have second breakfast. So I'm just the truth, bro.
How crucial is it?
It's so crucial. Every day I will take a second breakfast. Usually it's like a pack of like peanut butter crackers that's, it comes in this pack of 6 or something. I'll stick that in my back pocket, and about 30 to 45 minutes into my morning hike, I'll break that sucker out and have my second breakfast. Then I'll have a snack. I had trail mix just in a little Ziploc bag. For lunch, tortillas, peanut butter, honey, banana chips, and then regular chips. And then another snack like M&Ms, and then maybe like a freeze-dried meal for dinner. So that's kind of a typical weekend backpacking trip, if you will. It looks something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not
Can
very.
I tell you a really fun story about Girl Scout cookies?
Yeah.
Okay, so not this February, but the February before, me and a bunch of guys got together up in Wisconsin and did some winter backpacking up there with some friends, and we are hiking along the trail, and we get to the road, and we decide we're just going to put our chairs out here on the road, and we're just going to sit and eat lunch. We're in the middle of nowhere, right? So we sit down, we're eating lunch, and one of the guys with us is Dan Becker. And so Dan's sitting there, we're all eating, and this car just stops out of the blue and walks back and goes, "Are you Dan Becker?" And so of course Dan's eating this up. He's like, That's right. You know who I am." And so we joked around, we got pictures, all that stuff. So we were all taking bets on, is another car going to do this? And this other car pulls up and drives by and backs up a little bit. And we're like, "Oh, here comes Dan Becker part 2. This guy just gets out, opens his trunk, pulls out this big box. He goes, "You guys want some Girl Scout cookies?" And he gave each of us a box of Girl Scout cookies. That might have been the greatest day that's the greatest trail magic I've ever received in my entire life. This guy walks up, huge box. Yeah, every one of us got a box of Girl Scout cookies. So I was pretty stoked about that one.
Wow.
So yeah, that was awesome. We got it all on video. It was great. Guy was super nice.
That is cool. Just wanted to ask, John, do you have any other questions for the boys right now?
No, I'm all good. Thanks for having me up. But Colleen told me that other pack was Hilltop packs.
Oh yeah, Hilltop packs, a Raven. Yeah, that's a good pack. It's frameless though, so I mean you gotta take that into account. Like frameless and frame packs react very differently. You can't adjust the weight the same way. It can be a little difficult to use those. So it could be working for you guys, but I'm not a big. I tried a frameless pack. It didn't work for me real well. I know Jeremiah's got one. He might have a different experience than I do with it, but I'm not a big fan of frameless packs personally.
Yeah. I'll hit you up on that code for Tramper. So
yeah, I'll hook you up with that.
Cool.
All right,
Johnny,
cool.
I'll tell you what, stick around in the green room, and we'll have a little chat after the show with the boys.
Shall do.
All right. You can
Awesome.
get Colleen in there too. Talk to you in a bit. We got one more fella here in the basement there that you may be familiar with. This is Marty Morissette.
Yeah.
What's going on, boys?
How you doing, Marty? What's going on?
This is how I spend most of my Tuesday nights, working in my garage trying to finish my house while I listen to Dennis.
That's okay. We'll let you do that.
Man,
got a question for the boys?
Well, there's a couple of things I find super interesting is, first off, for the food, one of the things that I've started to do last summer that I think is super underutilized for any backcountry camping trip is I've started to use whey powder for, like, John, you were saying about your cereals in the morning. Get some of that cookies and creams whey powder, throw that in your cereals with water. It is so tasty, and you got yourself a lot of calories and good, like, protein and energy, man. And it's as light as it gets, right? It's just powder.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Instead of using that. And the interesting part too is that this show has been a lot more about, like, canoe camping and all that, which is awesome. But for me, this is neat because this is where both my world kind of meet together. And I think that the backpacking world has so much to offer to anyone in the canoe camping world, because everybody's always like, "Oh, the canoe can carry all of your stuff," right? So like Jeremiah Stringer earlier, like, you can bring all that gear all you want, but if you're gonna go portaging and canoe camping and you're gonna do a lot of portages, man, listening to these guys and all these backpacking more backpacking driven YouTube channels to learn how to lower your base weights and all that, it makes your experience so much better. It's absolutely worth it. That's how I got into it myself, trying to lower my backpack. Like, I started with the Darwins at the time, and then that's how I met all of you guys. But it's something that I find in the canoe world, we don't talk enough, like lowering your weight. Like, how can you be a little bit more minimalistic? And there's something to be said about that. So I guess it's not really a question. I just find that it's a cool way to cross both the worlds.
Yeah, you know, in the world of, like I mentioned, in the world of canoeing, your weight for your pack is not quite as critical as it would be for backpacking. But on the other hand, it depends on your trip as well, right? You guys mentioned, you know, if it's a short weekend trip or a short 1 week trip or something. Same in the world of canoeing, right? If you don't have a lot of portages to do, then hey man, why not bring the extra comforts? And that's the way my canoe parties always looked at things and considered things. It's like, well, yeah, you know what? Let's bring the lawn chairs. What the heck, man? We only got 6 portages, like, and the total's like 2.4 kilometers or something, right? So it's like you're not worried about it so much, right? But if if you got that big 3,000 meter portage, you know, that's a little different, right?
Well, I was gonna say too, like, I don't know if anybody knows this, Marty has a killer channel.
Yes.
And killer channel, and he's got a really cool paddle. I've noticed that you got that custom paddle, dude. That thing is sweet. But no, I like watching Marty's channel because I don't do the canoe thing, and I love watching his videos with him. And oh shoot, who do you go with all the time?
Pierre from
yes,
Therapy, yeah.
Pierre, dude, you guys together are fun, man. You guys are fun when you're out there together, and like it's great because I don't do that stuff, so I just kind of live vicariously through you guys. We don't have a lot of places down here where that's really a great way to go backpacking or go out, so it's always fun watching you guys.
You know, canoe camping out where we live is like surfing in California, man. It's just the thing to do. That's what there is out here. But I still think one of the things I've learned the most from you know, as much as to go back on the comfort and the base weights and all that, one of the things I've learned the most from the backpacking world and getting into the ultralight stuff, although it can be expensive, there's something to be said about the minimalistic approach to just not having a whole lot. You just go out, you've got nothing, it's simple, it's more about the experience of being out there rather than all the you know, being distracted with all the other stuff too, right? And it's neat, man. I think there's a lot to be said about merging the two worlds together, and that's why it's cool working all together on YouTube, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. The about as minimal as you can get when you're backpacking is your backpack, and it weighs without food and stuff like 5 pounds, 6 pounds, and then you add the food and water, and your shelter is just like a tarp that you throw up.
Yeah,
on a half-inch pad thrown on the ground to keep you warm. You can go super ultra light. You can also go in the other direction too, right? Like if you don't have any portages or very few, and you take as much weight as you want. I remember one time I went to the Ohio YouTuber meetup or whatever, and you have to backpack.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, say your channel name.
No.
You changed it. Changed it.
Yeah, I rebranded. I was supposed to make a whole video. Actually, both of these guys, I had asked them to give me their best impression of my French name, Par Extrême, and they did fantastic. But I rebranded, and I waited too long to do it, and then it just kind of moment was passed, and honestly, nobody cared that I changed my name. Nobody said anything.
Hey, go ahead, share your new channel name, Marty.
It's just Marty Morissette. I just decided to go for my name. It was just so challenging. Every time I would cross people out in the parks or anywhere, they would see me with the dead cat, the camera. They're like, "Oh, you do the YouTube thing." I'm like, "Yeah." It's like, "Oh, what's your channel name?" Par Extrême, and they'd be like, "What?" So I just went with my name. It was simpler.
That happened to me too. Mine was JK is hiking, and like it was weird having people say, "Hi, JK is hiking." I was like, that's really not my name. So I just was like, I did the same thing. I changed mine to just my name, John Kelly. I made it as easy as possible.
Yeah. But what I was going to say was the craziest, heaviest thing that we took is we backpacked in with cornhole boards. Yeah.
How'd you fasten those to your backpack?
We had to carry them, man. I had one in one hand. Jason had one in the other hand. We just carried those into the site, man. You know, cross the creeks with them. Whatever we had. Other hand had like full-on lawn chairs. You know, like had the fold-up camping one. You can go.
was it last March when we were in the Red River Gorge with Ben McMillan from Hilltop Packs. He's a guy that owns Hilltop Packs, and I had borrowed an underquilt from Jason, and I wasn't able to meet the guys at the trailhead. I had to get there a little bit later, and I was supposed to bring that underquilt for Jason to use. And because I couldn't get there early enough, it did not fit in my backpack. So I put this underquilt in a storage sack, tied it to the back of my backpack, and this huge, like, I'm not kidding, this big around was just bouncing off my backpack the entire time until I got to the rest of the guys. There was one lady that looked at me and she goes, what's in the bag? She was really confused by what was going on. Yeah. It was just funny. Like, and when I get there, Jeremiah just laughed when he saw it. He was cracking up.
Jeremiah, I'll give you a pointer on carrying in the cornhole game, right? My buddy and I, we got, as you know, all across the country, all across North America, there's different variations of the game, right? Like a beanbag toss, or we call them pucks down here, where we throw like a little rubber disc and do a hole on a board, right? Well, when we go camping, we'll bring a couple of like cottage cheese tubs, little cottage cheese tubs.
Oh.
And instead of carrying the whole board, the game, we'll bring these tubs. And if we're at a campsite on a layover day or something, we'll actually dig them into the ground. So we'll do a couple little cup holes in the ground, right? And then we take our saw and we find a branch of, maybe a 3-inch diameter branch or something, and we'll cut our 6 pucks out of that. And we make our own game out there, right?
Ultralight.
And you get hot, you jump in the water, you come back up, throw some pucks, drink a beer, carry on again, right? So instead of carrying the whole board in, we bring a couple little cups in, right? So
that is awesome, man.
That's a great idea. That's a
great video idea, actually.
Yeah. Oh man, it's gonna be all over the internet.
That's a fantastic idea. We've done like the if you bring a knife that you can baton wood with or something like that, you can throw those and try to stick them like into dead wood or whatever. And that's super fun. You can make a game out of it. But I never would have thought about digging the hole and putting the cup in there. Cup would be super light. You could even just like have fun sitting by the campfire trying to throw rocks in that thing, just pebbles.
Oh yeah.
I'm definitely going to try that out for the kids this summer. Actually, I've got like a 7-day trip. So I'm going to bring that's actually a really good way to entertain them.
Have you guys ever heard of a game called, not the proper word for it, but I think we call it testicle toss. I think the proper name for it is ladder toss. Basically, it's like 2 balls on the end of a string, right?
I played that.
You put it on the bars.
Yeah, I played that.
Well, we've done that with like paracord and pieces of like branches, right? And we've done that and tried to toss it onto like a branch of a tree that's low hanging or something like that, right? So you play that. You make the stupid games out there. These are always the games that you do when you're bored at your campsite because either you're windbound or you got something's keeping you at your site, or you have that relaxing layover day. So yeah. You guys ever do layover days when you're backpacking?
Well, we don't.
They go into town usually when they do that.
Yeah, I think we call them 0 days for us.
Or near.
Usually, you only do those on your like long distance hiking. You don't usually do that like on a weekend or anything like that.
Donkey.
Hey, I know that person.
Thanks, Janice.
That's funny. No, we don't really do the layover.
Yeah. For us in canoe camping, like after 5-6 days, usually you try to take a day off, like at a campsite, then you'll go again. Cause they'll be able to go 30 days straight with like in their food barrels. So you got to take some day off to do some laundry, but there's no town usually.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, whenever you're through hiking or like doing a long distance trek, every 3 to 5 days, typically you have to go into town so that you can resupply food because you literally just can't carry enough food. It's too heavy. I mean, you can, it's just not comfortable, especially you can go into town and get a shower and do laundry or whatever, run errands, pick up packages, whatever, but not in the woods. That would basically just be camping for us, I guess. Well, just walk in and camp, which is cool too. I mean, I've done that.
Oh yeah, car camping is great.
Yeah, car camp, or just walking a mile or two in with your backpack and everything you want to carry, like we did with the cornhole boards.
And do like a base camp type of thing, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Because we've been known to do that in our end here, doing canoe trips and stuff, where you could actually paddle into a campsite and then you do side trips from there, right? That's your base camp, and you do a day paddle to here, a day paddle to there, a day paddle to there, do some fishing, hiking up portage trails. Yeah.
That's how I did most of my backpacking when I was younger. When we would go in the Adirondacks to hike the mountains, we would base camp. So we would hike in a few miles, base camp there, and then all weekend long we'd peak bag, right? So we'd always go with no gear to the top and come back down. So it's a neat way to get into it too, if you just don't want to carry all that weight, or if you're just starting out in your base weight. Like when I started, I had 50 pounds on my back. Like that's just, we didn't have expensive gear. It's just what it was. So it's a neat way to do it too.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Anyways, you know what, fellas, we're at the 9 o'clock hour. We usually try to wrap things up around 9 o'clock. We've been known to go into overtime, but I don't see anybody else in the basement here to come up and ask any questions. So we'll probably draw this episode to an end. We will have a little chit chat in the green room, so please don't go away. Thanks very much, guys, for sharing, your Tuesday evenings with us. I know it's a little longer than your show runs, but just the way Canoe Hound does it, right? So
hey, man, go for it.
Yeah. So tell everybody a little bit about your podcast and your live stream, where they can find you guys, what night you guys actually operate the show, and I know that was part of the question tonight, but let's answer that for everybody.
Go ahead, Jeremiah.
Well, you can find us if you're listening to the just a podcast audio. Find us on any major podcast platform, wherever you find your podcast. We'll be on there. And then if you're wanting to actually watch those viral moments on video, everything's on the Backpacking Podcast YouTube channel. You just search Backpacking Podcast, you're going to find it. And right now, John and I actually somehow through some wondrous work of God, we are finding success on YouTube, and our channels have started to really grow. So we have been putting all the live streams on our personal channels, but come this summer in June, we're going to make everything exclusively on the Backpacking Podcast YouTube channel, do all the live streams, all the audio, video, everything through that. Yep. So it's Monday nights. We get started at 8:30, and we usually go about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes. And we're either just hanging out or hanging out and having a great guest.
And if you have Shug on, it'll go 2 hours, 5 hours. I mean, just drink a lot of coffee. You're going to be there. I think we tried to cut that one off like 4 or 5 times, and it was just fun, man. That kind of stuff was great. Also, I want to put in a plug. Jeremiah's channel is Jeremiah Stringer Hikes on YouTube, and I'm John Kelly, like as it's spelled on the screen right now. That's me. And so, and Martin is Martin Morissette. So I'll throw Marty in there too, just because he's on the screen with us. But definitely check those out too. That's where you can watch the Backpacking Podcast right now. So is on our 2 channels.
Yeah.
But like
so as a main note, right now you're watching you can watch their live streams on their personal channels. Yeah. But this is the time that you want to go to the Backpacking Podcast YouTube channel, so that when they make their transition over to broadcasting on their YouTube channel only, then you'll be all set up and ready to go. So make sure you get over there, hit their subscribe button, and make sure you hit the notifications so that you'll know that when their shows start there, you'll get your notifications.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to that. You've already got my sub over there. And yeah, we're all good to go, man. Gentlemen, once again, thanks very much for sharing tonight. We'll be in touch. Of course, a few minutes in the green room, but appreciate you sharing your experiences with everybody.
Thanks for
Marty,
having me.
I'm going to drop you into the basement there.
Wait.
And fellas, I'm going to drop you down as well, and I'll be with you in a moment.
All right, we'll see you.
Keep the feet going.
There we go.
That sucked. That's horrible. Okay, we'll talk in a minute, fellas.
All right.
All right, everybody. So, you know what a great night. I have been saying through a bunch of past episodes that I really wanted to broaden the horizons here with Canoe Hound's Outdoor Adventure Show, and to bring you more quality content as far as people from different genres. You know, we're more than just a canoeing channel or a kayaking or backcountry camping channel. The one thing that I'd like to try and share with everybody is that whether it's hiking or backpacking or canoeing or, you know, whatever it is, as long as we're getting people out into the backcountry, it is something that we'd like to share with everybody. And these are all great ways for us to get out there and experience, you know, different ways of exploring nature. And this is what I'd like to bring you in the future. So hopefully you like tonight's content. You know what? I have more plans of bringing more hiking content and canoeing content in the future. But I just want to know everybody's feedback on that. And if you have any feedback on tonight's show, I ask that you please drop me an email at canoehound@gmail.com. Let us know what you thought of the show, where we might be able to improve with this show or any other show in the future, no matter what the content is. We'd like to hear your feedback. Another thing, I just wanted to remind everybody that next week, for those of you, and especially those of you that might be based in Ontario, Canada, we are having a show that is on the Ontario Parks fee structuring and the pilot project that they have going on right now, where they are considerably jacking the rates, and it's considerably affecting solo paddlers and those who are like, you know, small groups of paddlers. And we have a few good guests on. We'll be having John from Lost Lakes. We'll be having Hap Wilson will be on the show, and a few others that I have the feelers out for right now. So make sure you tune in next Tuesday night. This is a show that hopefully doesn't get too heated. We just want to bring up a lot of awareness and education to everybody as to what's going on and what we might be able to do to prevent all these things from happening, and you know, having the government dig deeper into our pockets for something where they shouldn't be digging into our pockets. So I hope to see everybody next week. If you liked what you seen tonight, please do hit that like button. And also, if you haven't already done so, subscribe. We'll see you guys next Tuesday. And I'd like to say, remember, people, keep the adventures alive. Have a great week. Stay safe and healthy. Bye-bye now.